Hello, it's Susanna here from The Good Property Company. It's Friday night and I am going out for supper, but first I've been doing some calculations with Ash. Remember, when you're running a business, you want to do plan, do and review. Review being, let's review your work, what can you improve, what went well, what needs to improve. So Ash and I have been having a look at the deals. We've been going for over 5 years. Ash and I have worked together for 5 years. I started working with him when he was a little 22-year-old baby, and now he's got the big beard. And in that time, we've sourced over 209 deals, which is not bad. I mean, that is going some. So we're just doing a bit of an analysis of what's gone well, what can improve, and what can we learn, because that's always the best way forward. So let's start with first the buy to sells. These are projects that have been bought and sold. I think within this there are about 3 or 4 that are still going through, but we're really sure that these ones are going through, so we're keeping them in the calculation. So interestingly, between us and our partners, out of the 209 deals, we've had 42 sell so far. So it looks like it's about a fifth, about 20%. So majority of people are actually keeping rather than doing buy to sell. It could be a factor of the fact that we started in the recession. For about the first 3 years of us running a sourcing business, it was very, very flat. So it wouldn't have been such a sensible thing to do in a flat market to buy to sell, whereas of course the last couple of years it's been tremendous. So, but nonetheless, we know statistically that roughly about a fifth of the deals are buy to sells. Okay, bad news first. 8 of them sold under our evaluation. Now, how we evaluate is we look at around about 20 on the market at the moment, so on the market or sold subject to contract. We look at 20 sold within a short period of time, so that's a very economically sensible period of time, and then we take the advice of anything up to 5 estate agents. And when we publish our reports, either whether it's for me or whether it's for somebody else, we actually show all of that data, because of course we're publishing a valuation estimate, but of course you can't tell. You are not the person who's going to be buying and selling, and for anybody that wants to buy a deal, they need to be sure that they do their own research as well. But with that kind of triangulation, you've got a relatively, as you'll see from our figures, a relatively decent ability to do as much market research as is practicable. So you've got 20 solds, 20 on the market, and 5 estate agent opinions. So you're really looking at that triangle of what's happened already, what people actually put cash out for, what do people hope they're going to sell it for, and what do the experts in the field, the estate agents. So 8 sold under. Even then, 4 were less than 3 grand, a couple of them were only £1,000. 2 were under 5 grand, so actually one was 3 grand under, one was 5 grand under. One bad boy was 7 grand, and then we just had 2 outliers that just didn't reach what we expected and what the estate agents expected. So 8 out of 42. Disappointing, but you know, 4 under 3 grand, 2 at or under 5 grand, 1 at 7 grand with 2 outliers. So apart from the 2 outliers, you know, it's the fluidity, it's property, but they're within a range, aren't they? However, interestingly, 28 of the 42 that have sold over. And are you ready for this? The one that sold over the most was 86 grand over our valuation. So we said, hang on, let me get my stats. We said, I can't see it here actually. Excuse me. We said it would sell for whatever price it would sold, and it sold for 86,000 quid over. And that was before the market rose. We just were very, very conservative. Our next one that sold over was 54,950,000 quid. Not bad. And then we had 2 of our deals that sold for 40 grand over the evaluation price that we put on. We had 1 deal that sold for 31,250 over, 1 deal that sold for 30,500 over, 1 deal that sold for 22 over, a deal that sold for 20,500, a deal that sold for 20, and then a 17, a 15, a 12, a 10, and a 10. Not bad. We had 10 deals that sold between 5 and 9 grand over, and then we had 4 little babies that sold between 1 and 5 grand over. So typically, with 28 selling over and 8 selling under, of which most were very close, and we had 2 outliers. So it looks to me like typically we sold over. And when I look at the 42 that we've sold at the moment, in terms of what sold over, what sold under, we actually saw the additional sales cash as a group that our investors got in, as far as my calculations served me, was £402,200 more than our set of reports suggested. So what does that mean? That means if we spread it out equally, which of course you can't because these are deals, people are buying them on their own merits each time, it's averaging at 9,500 each, extra to what we say. So whilst we had two really sad outliers, and you know, this is property, I mean, they're rough, but this is property. What it means is to work on a sourcing business, it's really, really sensible to undervalue your deals. And we've always done that very consciously. We've tried very, very hard not to be a blingy kind of a business. And we no longer accept investors. So this is really just a statistical analysis for you guys and a review of what we've done and transfer those stats over to what you might do as well. So don't worry, this is not actually saying, hey guys, come and work with us, because we no longer take new investors in for the sourcing business. But the sensible thing when you're working with investors is to undervalue. And statistically, that's very, very clearly what we've done, because our investors on these 42 deals that are sold, or with a few just still selling through, they've gained 402,200 additional equity to what we estimated. And that way, folks are going to want to work with you. In fact, I believe that the person got the 86,000 additional also got the 54,950, so they did extremely well out of us. Also, it shows that property is a risk. So as much as we work incredibly hard, we do roughly 20 solds, 20 on the market or sold subject to contract, and take 4 or 5 estate agent valuations, because we're trying to get as much research as humanly possible to evaluate that triangle of a deal. What has sold, what someone else hoping something will sell for, and what are the experts who are dealing with customers and doing the house sales every day anticipating. It does show you that there are outliers both in getting lucky and in getting unlucky, and therefore property is clearly a risk. Therefore, if you're doing property, you always need a plan A and a plan B. For me, I would never crystallize a loss. If I had a property that, you know, was one of these two outliers, I simply wouldn't have sold it. I would have just gone, damn, and babied it until market capital growth caught up with me. So it does show that within property, you have a range of values and expectations, but you will have a couple of outliers where you just think, oh my goodness, don't I know about property? And you'll have a couple of outliers where you just want to put your head in your hands and think, this thing doesn't work. So if you're hitting one of those outliers right now, I would say keep going. It's a statistical game. There'll be a moment where it's tough, there'll be a moment where it's really good, but statistically, I would suggest what you want to do is kind of what we seem to have done, which is what we were aiming to do, which is undervalue, be cautious, take lots of market research, so that more than anything, you can give additional value. And for us, it was 402,200. And bear in mind, guys, that's only out of 42 of our deals. We've done 209, or we've sourced 209. So we're going to do some more analysis on the ones that folks have kept. And just make sure that when you do hit an outlier, if it's a, woohoo, I've made it, I've done an amazing job, brilliant, well, you know, invest that money straight back into another house. Or if you do hit the very occasional outlier where you don't sell, I would strongly suggest if it's going to sell at a loss, just don't sell it, just hold it, baby it. You've got more of a deposit kept in, wait for the growth to catch up, and then either decide to sell it or actually to think, oh, I'm kind of lucky, I decided to keep it because actually it's pumping out cash now. So I hope that's useful. I think because we've done 209 deals, we do have a level of statistics that you can start to rely on, and it really just shows that on the upside and the downside, there are always a couple of outliers, and then there's a really nice range. But if you undervalue, then generally you're going to get a good result. And for us, taking into account the things that sold under, which was only 8 of them, and the ones that sold way over, which was 28 of them, we created an additional 402,200 quid. It's not bad. And these are, I think 4 or 5 of them are still on the going through for sale. The rest have all been sold. So we were just checking land registry prices. Now for you guys, maybe just have a look at your own results so far. So how many years you've been in property? Remember, plan, do, review. What went well? What went badly? Why did they go badly? What's the reason for it? And we actually were scratching our heads on these two. The estate agents were saying, brilliant, they're going to sell. We don't know why they didn't. And we actually scratched our heads on the outliers as well. But generally, we know that we created £402,000 of extra equity because on purpose we undervalue. So that tells me that we're pretty much on the right track. We want to refine a little bit in terms of our own deal sourcing, because we're sourcing for TGPC going forward. But for you guys, what went well, what went badly, keep your records of everything you did. What did you get it in for? What did you sell it for? What was the refurb? And then that will allow you to do a statistical analysis as you built up a number, and you can see your own trend. Are you over optimistic? Are you under optimistic? Are there a couple of outliers? And that tells you there's a risk and you need to mitigate those risks. So always have a plan A, always have a plan B. In my view, never crystallize a loss, just keep the bad boy and rent it back out. I hope that's helpful. Speak soon.